This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to this podcast, Season 4, Episode 24. My name is Timothy. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined once again over there by Jonathan Kuehlein in Mississauga, Ontario.
Hello, kids.
And down there we have Xavier Kuehlein, also in Mississauga, Ontario.
How's it going?
Filling in for a absent Jaime Lopez Jr.
Yeah. Who?
Jaime? You heard of the guy? The guy you've done like 500 podcasts with? No, that guy?
Who dat? Oh, okay, so last week we started off with we'll do our fact check. So last week we talked about Brass Against, and the singer's name is Sophia Arista. And I beg you, I implore you, please do not Google her name. Because she did something really nasty on stage a couple of weeks ago, involving a willing fan, admittedly.
He did volunteer for it.
He did volunteer for it, yes. But the band has since apologized, and talk about bad timing, because I mean, like the one they're in a major motion picture. They're like the last thing you hear. Everybody's gonna like be Googling them and finding out who they are. And yes, so unfortunately, Sophia really apologizes for what she did. But yeah, she was in the moment. That's the argument.
Sure.
Yeah, you could say that. All right.
I have no idea what's going on here. Like, I just
no, no, dude, we're not going to go there.
Let's just say if I find it on your browser history, we're going to have a talk.
Well, wait a minute. You let him watch Big Mouth. What are you talking about? But anyway, I've been watching a little bit of Big Mouth while I'm working, like doing some coding and stuff like that. So I have it on in the background. That and like when I don't want to read subtitles, like again, complaint about the Russians and the Japanese in Daredevil is that you have to stop and read the credits in the Spanish, right? Whereas Big Mouth, I can just leave it on, and I don't know what it is with that one kid, but and maybe it's just a season 1 thing, but he keeps throwing up every time something inappropriate happens. I don't know which one he is, but it's pretty funny. And it's not just one time; it's like repeated. So it's pretty funny, especially when the young girl character has her moment where she becomes a woman.
Yes,
that's a pretty funny one. Anyway, so and speaking of sort of mental blocks, as you all know, I like to say that Maria Muldaur was the Doctor in season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, when in fact it wasn't. Maria Muldaur is burned into my consciousness, burned into my brain, probably because of the song "Midnight at the Oasis," and I've got a link here in the show notes for those of you who don't know that song. And then I don't know, did she do the brand new roller skate song? I can't remember that one, but no, maybe that was a Minnie Riperton, I think, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, no, there was that's more follow up for next week. But yeah, Maria Muldaur, Midnight at the Oasis, which is why that. That's kind of like, there's like, I don't know, a Billie Eilish, right? Like not quite Billie Eilish, but you know what I mean? Like you get these names and that just everybody's talking about. And
I think the phrase you're looking for is Kiki D.
No, Kiki D was the Elton John song. No.
Yeah.
But the roller skate song, it's a different song. Anyway, The Code of Honor was the 3rd episode of the Next Generation. That's what I thought it was. But I went back and watched Center Seat and I watched all of the episodes that are available so far. It's an amazing, really good show. Mm-hmm. If you're into Star Trek lore, as you know, if you listen to this podcast, why are you not watching Center Seat? Come on. All those sort of rumors you may have heard about Star Trek over the years, they dispel them and enlighten them and whatever. And for some reason, I thought when Brent Spiner talked about the dreaded Code of Honor, he was talking about the cow of something or other, which is where my brain, what I heard the first time, he actually just says the dreaded Code of Honor. Anyway, that's the episode where, they went really down a bad path. But
it was not a great episode.
Yes, and Xavier was partially right. The last episode of Picard was called Et in Arcadia Ego. There you go.
Yeah. Always right. Always
right. Well,
even when I'm not.
That's why you're the number one fan.
Well, no doubt he's my son.
So we're going to jump over to the headlines. Oh, it's me first. What?
You are the headline master. He's very impressive.
Sleeping with dogs. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Spider-Man smashes the box office records last week at the end of the weekend with $1 billion. That's $1 billion globally. I have a link here. And yeah, surprisingly, with the Matrix Resurrections coming out that same week, that Spider-Man still maintained the number one box office thing. Sing 2 came in second. Sing 2 beat Matrix Resurrections. What?
The Matrix.
Kids, though, right? Like, that's the difference.
And yeah, check out the shirt on Xavier down there.
That's if you listen to the audio version of this podcast as opposed to the video version, you won't get to see my awesome Spotcast Matrix shirt. You can't buy them anywhere.
Well, I might put it on the.
If you make one, I would totally buy it. Just saying, I would totally buy one.
And we'd get sued. And
I mean.
The Kingsman came in, which is a prequel to the King's whatever.
Yeah, it was the Kingsman and the Kingsman Golden Circle. Now it's the King's *Man.
Kingsman. Yes, the singular, right? And then an American Underdog, which I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, those were the top 5 movies. But yeah, yay, Spider-Man.
Yeah, $1 billion is good. It's the first movie during the pandemic to crack the $1 billion mark.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So considering the times, I really do wonder if this had been in a much safer time, how much more that could have made and where that would close out as far as the biggest movies of all time, because it would have to be up there.
Yeah. So how did Marvel, for instance, Endgame, like what did they do the billion, like multiple billions or?
Yeah, I think they broke 2 billion.
Okay. So 1 billion is not too shabby even by normal times. Right.
Well, comparing it to things like Eternals and Shang-Chi, I think they were happy. I think they came in at like 350 million, and those were considered to be like pretty successful. So just to put those into perspectives, the difference between a known IP like Spider-Man and an unknown IP like Eternals and Shang-Chi, that's the difference.
Cool. All right. And we were going to talk about Spockies this week, but we're going to hold off one more week, so you still have time to go and vote if you haven't voted already. We're waiting for Jaime Lopez Jr. to come back and make his statements, his what do you call it? Coming off the top ropes with the full body slam during the Spockies. So I gathered up Eli Glasner from CBC, who was once a young kid reviewer. He's now
weren't we all, Tim? Weren't we all?
Yeah, he's a seasoned professional now, but he's done his top 10, and this is in the reversed order for the year. Right. So this is not necessarily sci-fi or whatever, but No Ordinary Man was his number 10. West Side Story 2021 version, Steven Spielberg version, came in as number 9. Power of the Dog, which is Benedict Cumberbatch. And that's, I think, on Netflix, right?
Yeah. My wife just watched that the other night.
Yeah. So I have to watch that. And Pig is supposedly, that's the one with everybody's favorite actor, Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage, yeah.
And apparently that is quite a good movie too. Well, it's in the top 10, right?
Yep.
Passing, Spider-Man No Way Home came in at number 5.
Yep.
So that's kind of an interesting one. Tick, Tick, Boom, no idea what that is. Nightmare Alley, that's the new Guillermo del Toro.
Tick, Tick, Boom is also on Netflix. It's Andrew Garfield's in that as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, right. And then Beans, which looks really interesting. I forget what that's about. It's sort of a residential school kind of deal. And then, of course, Dune came in at number 1, the 2021 version. Denis Villeneuve's, I was going to say Villy Deleneuve. Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune, which is interesting. So it's maybe it's sort of a teaser for the Spocky results. So I'm not going to say anything more about
we might be seeing some of these titles pop up again.
Yes, Sri Bob. And one more thing. Pretty famous Canadian director Jean-Marc Vallée passed away at the age of 58 recently, and he's done a few. I'm just drawing a blank here on some of the movies. He was a huge influence on Denis Villeneuve and a number of actors. You got his IMDb page handy?
Yeah, I know he did Big Little Lies, the very popular television series that's on HBO. That was something that people would know him from for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. And I know he did movies as well, but let's see. Oh, Dallas Buyers Club. That was the other one.
Right. That's the
very well known.
McConaughey won the Academy Award for it. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I saw a thing on IMDb about him because apparently he was doing rom-coms left, right, center, and he went back and checked the checklist that he'd made as a young man, and one of the things that he wanted to do was win the Academy Award as Best Actor. That was a goal for him, right? So he reevaluated what he was doing and started turning down, movies that were they were going to pay him millions and millions and millions of dollars, and he turned them down because he wanted to do more respectable pieces. So that's how he ended up with the Dallas Buyers Club and what's the Magic Mike, I think, was the other one that he was quite notable in. Anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that.
They just put up his cause of death because it was a bit of a mystery when they announced that they had found his body. They didn't announce how he died, but they announced, I guess, this week that he died of a heart attack. So very sad. He was sort of secluded by himself. He had a heart attack and died. That's really sad.
Yeah, that's not, it's not an unusual death for somebody of that age, really. I mean, it's amazing when you hear that people he's younger than me. Passing away, like that's always a shocker. But but I think generally speaking, most of the young people I've known who've died between like 35 and 60 have been generally heart attacks. Otherwise, it's the big C. So, and of course that new thing that we're dealing with, the other C. And then over to you, Jonathan, for one more.
Yeah, the speculation, the fuel to the fire, in this case literal, that has been going around that there's going to be a Ghost Rider revival with Marvel, and part of that revival has centered around who would be playing the character. Now, we got a Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that was a different iteration of the character. Now they're looking at the classic Johnny Blaze 1970s sort of, badass on a motorcycle kind of deal. And of course, when you think badass on a motorcycle, the first person you think of is Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. And so there is a lot of speculation this week. He's been playing coy on social media. He's been liking things that have linked him to the role. So there's a lot of speculation that he's going to get the job as Ghost Rider.
That's not the same with the Nicolas Cage one, right? Was that Ghost Rider?
It is. It's the same character as those versions of it too. So we'll see which version. There's been a few different characters over the years that have been the Ghost Rider. It'll be interesting to see which version they anticipate doing and how they anticipate doing. This will be the first one inside the MCU proper, of course, right? Because the other ones were sort of pre-MCU. But I know that I'm running the risk of running afoul of the Walking Dead fans, but I don't think he's that good. I think he's okay.
You think he's been playing the same role for the last 8 years? And
I think he's a perfectly fine actor. I think the role that he's been playing is fine, but I'd like to see something else from him to determine whether or not he's good at being Daryl or whether he's a good actor.
Yeah.
Personally speaking, when I think of like awesome badass guys riding motorcycles, I think of Keanu Reeves, Canadian.
I know you were big on Keanu Reeves, right?
I mean, again, motorcycles, action. I mean, he's got I can see it. I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
A friend of the show, George
cool on fire.
Also drives a motorcycle.
That would be cool. I say it has to be Canadian. It's just that's, as a Canadian, we made it. It is now Canadian. This is now an all Canadian show too. That's the other thing.
That's true.
Now that Jaime Lopez Jr. is
America.
Yeah. No America. All Canada.
America. All Canada. All vaccinated. All safely distanced. In fact, those guys aren't even in the same room on the other show.
Socialized sci-fi, all the good things.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, well, we're at that part of the show where we're going to talk about something Star Trek related. Although I did already talk about Star Trek, but we're going to talk a little bit more in depth. This time we're still talking about Discovery, Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7. And I believe it's called But To Connect, Jonathan?
But To Connect. Well, you have to say the ellipses, apparently.
But to
How do you
connect.
say? You have to pause. But to connect.
But to connect. And so, off we go.
So this episode really centered around two sort of debates. There's one debate that's happening at the Federation headquarters where they are trying to decide what they're going to do about the big space rift that is killing everybody, and they're also going to decide about on Discovery. A smaller group is trying to decide what to do about Zora, the now seemingly sentient main computer aboard the ship. So the episode starts with the discussion about, okay, we're trying to figure out where species 10C is on the edge of the galaxy that has been launching these massive attacks that have destroyed worlds, including Quajon. And in the first scene, Zora, the sentient computer that we were speaking about, says, yes, I've figured it out. I know what we're doing. Like, I've got the spot. And they say, okay, cool. Tell us where it is. And she says, no. And
the pub doors, hell.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's apparently evolved to the point now where she sort of says, I don't want to tell you guys, because if I tell you guys, you'll go. And if you go, you could get hurt. So I don't want you guys to go. So I'm not going to tell you. And so this leads into the quandary of, well, how do you convince the ship to follow orders? And so one thread follows that through the whole episode. So they bring in Kovich, Dr. Kovich, of course, speaking of Canadian content, they bring in Kovich. Kovich comes in as David Cronenberg, of course, comes in, and he leads a group, which is Saru and Stamets and Adira and Gray, and they're all trying to figure out...
And Culber.
And Colby, right? And they're all trying to sit there, trying to figure out how to get Zora to stay with the program, to give them the information that they need so they can actually act on what they need to do. Meanwhile, there's this other conversation going on, which is led by the Federation president, Rillick, who is... see, now you're going to keep me on track.
Oh, yeah.
So she is going to be there leading this group where they've got representatives from 60 different worlds all voting on what to do about species 10C and trying to stop this crisis. We've got them trying to figure out on the ship. They introduce us to... at the Federation headquarters, they introduced us to some new players in the game. So Earth is not in the Federation, we find out, which I guess we knew from that episode last season.
Is Earth even in Earth? There was a representative from Earth?
Yeah, the one who is standing to the right of Burnham, the one in the blue uniform, she was representing Earth and Titan, because we established in that episode last year that Earth and Titan are not... they were not on the same page. So she is there representing them, but she's not necessarily a member of the Federation. She's representing their planet. So they're having this conversation. What are we going to do about this? And Tarka is there. Tarka is basically their needling book. The two of them are sort of conspiring a little bit after they had their tete-a-tete in the Not 10 Forward bar a few episodes back. So they're trying to figure out, okay, so what do we do about this species? And Tarka's solution is, okay, I've got I did that experiment aboard Discovery. It allowed me to figure this out. I've got plans for a bomb, and basically I'll jump in there. He jumps in and says, everybody, I've got this great bomb. The bomb will stop this thing from happening. And then, of course, Burnham starts pulling the threads on it, going, okay, so the only way your bomb's going to work is if it uses an isolytic reaction, and the isolytic weaponry has been banned for 750 years. And there's a reason for that, because it just does massive damage to subspace. It could render warp travel through that region completely invalid. And so she's trying to sort of say, let's think carefully about this. And of course, she, being more logical and more Starfleet, is saying, okay, instead of doing that, why don't we take the diplomatic approach? We'll treat it as a first contact. Once we get the coordinates, let's figure out, all the things we can put in place. We'll try and do a sensitive first contact. If that doesn't work, we've always got other options. So they go back and forth about that. And meanwhile, on Discovery, they're talking about, what could they do about Zora? They sort of say, hey, how do we know that you're not going to, Stamets is playing devil's advocate through this whole thing, saying like, hey, what are we going to do if we can't trust you to share information, to cooperate? How do we do this? And Zora says, fine, I'll give you a kill switch. So Zora creates a kill switch that basically says, if I do something you don't like, and I get to that point, you just hit the switch and I'm deleted from the computer, and I'm toasted. And of course, that raises the ethical quandary of, well, if she's a living thing, is it ethical?
It's a data question, basically, right?
It's pretty much, right? So we go through this, and she starts talking about her core function. And Kovich is taking a very analytical approach to this whole thing, saying, well, what is your core function? And she says, well, my core function is to protect the crew. And he says, well, who gave you that core function? And she said, I gave it to myself. So they're sort of building towards that same idea, exactly what you talk about, Tim. It's basically with the same conversation they had with Data. Is Data a thing or is Data a person, right? Is Zora a thing or is Zora a living thing? And so then we go back to the Federation headquarters. Tarka, finally, we get his backstory a little bit. He talks about how he wants to use this type of bomb that he's got planned because he and another scientist who were imprisoned by the Emerald Chain were working on dilithium alternatives, and they are trying to figure out how to get to another dimension where he thinks he will find his friend, and he needs the power of this explosion to basically possibly crack into that other universe. Yeah. It seemed very multiverse-y to me as he was describing it.
It's another universe, not another dimension.
Well, he does say both, right? He says there are other universes and dimensions that we're not, because originally because Book says, oh, the mirror universe, and he says there are many more universes and parallel dimensions.
Okay.
So it's both, right? They don't really clarify what exactly it is. My mind immediately went to Star Trek Generations, right? The
Nexus,
space worm Nexus that goes through space. Yeah. That was, and I was like, man, we've already got a reference to like something from Star Trek 5. Now we're talking Star Trek 7. This is getting very meta here.
How many Star Treks are there?
13.
13. Wow. How many of those did they need to make?
5.
Okay.
Right.
About 5.
Yeah. Not 1 through 5. Like
no. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one's 10?
10? No, 11. 11 is the JJ one, the first JJ one, which was quite good.
Oh, you're counting those. Okay.
I think so.
All right. Yeah.
10 was
the JJ ones. It's the Insurrection one that I thought was like it could have been a TV show.
It was a TV show. It was a good TV show. It was a TV show. All right. Book as being motivated from hearing Tarka's speech. Book then goes on the offense, and basically he speaks to the delegates. He's trying to sway them, saying like, "Listen, we got to take these guys out. This is the only way at it." And of course, he's looking for vengeance for his planet, and he's becoming increasingly at odds through this episode. Again, they've done a good job of foreshadowing this through the last few episodes, but the rift between Book and Burnham is getting wider and wider, and this one it completely splits wide open because in the end she has to be the one. Rillick basically says, I need you to be the person who speaks for that. I have to be impartial. You have to be the person who speaks on behalf of Starfleet and the Federation. So Book gives a very impassioned speech saying, hey, we got to blow these guys up. Burnham has to step up and take the complete opposite position, which is no, we need to approach this from a Federation values perspective. We have to stay true to our values, even if it means endangering ourselves. We can't just be on offense. And so we then go back to the ship. On the ship, they discover this new cluster inside of Zora's computer, and it's basically that she's created herself a subconscious, and so she's got all these memories, unknowingly so. Interesting. Yeah. And so it basically fits the criteria for dreaming, and unless a computer is programmed to dream, it won't dream. So if it's created this of its own volition unknowingly, therefore it is a living thing. And so Kovich is starting to draw the conclusion, okay, well, this is starting to become clearer. And then we get a really interesting, well-edited sequence between Stamets giving his speech aboard Discovery about Zora and her rights to live, and Burnham and the rights to 10C, species 10C, to have that similar right to life and not right to death. And so as she's giving the speech, you can see just this huge fracture happening. Xavier will say, I was sitting in my chair going, because that was the ice crumbling underneath the Book and Burnham's relationship. So of course they have their vote, and the vote says that they're going to take the first contact approach. And so Book is PO'd, and he sort of says to Burnham, I'm out of here. And he walks away.
Actually, he doesn't say it, just gives her the cold stare.
He just gives her a cold stare.
And who didn't see what's coming next?
Yeah. Back on the ship, Kovich basically acknowledges, hey, actually, this, Zora meets all the criteria. She is a living thing. And therefore, what if we, instead of, trying to find another solution, we put her under the same rules? So Stamets offers, hey, what if we make her a specialist? She joins Starfleet, and then she has to follow
Give her a
orders.
badge and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So
a little top transport, yeah.
So she is now Specialist Zora.
Yeah. Does she have to take the turbo lift though?
No, as I'm saying, you just do a little tap thing on your comm badge, and off you go.
Yeah, they're gonna put her into like a little. They're gonna have like a little holographic body for her in a couple of seasons.
Yeah. So then we get a couple little wrap-up scenes, and one of them that really takes us into our season break. So part of this discussion was Gray and Adira advocating for Zora, particularly Gray, given that Gray has now transformed from a living flesh and blood Trill to a spirit as part of the Trill symbiont that only Adira could see, to now being inhabiting a synthetic body. So therefore,
or being Picarded as it is now.
Yeah, that's right. So Gray is very strongly invested and is very satisfied with the outcome. But as part of that whole experience, Adira can tell that Gray really wants to go back home to Trill and get a little more serious about his studies to become a Guardian. So Adira recommends, hey, you know what, you should go. So the two of them are going to go in the near future back to Trill together, and Gray's going to stay there. Whether or not that means that Ian Alexander is leaving, in the same way that we don't know if Tilly, we don't know if Tilly's coming back. We don't know if Gray's coming back. We don't know if they're all coming back. But it sounds like, at least for a short term, Gray's going to be off the show, which is, I'm okay with it. Then we get a cute scene with Saru and the president of Nivar, whose name I cannot remember, starts with a T, where he gives her a flower that is used to make tea, and it's still very cute. Their relationship is still very cute. I had to put that in there. And then, of course, the inevitable, as Tim alluded to. So Book and Tarka nick the new spore drive that they were developing at Starfleet headquarters, and they basically drop it onto the counter on Book's ship. It gets absorbed in, and all of a sudden they have a spore drive basically aboard his ship that will theoretically allow them to do the same thing that they had intended, which is they wanted to take the Discovery into the middle of the I keep wanting to call it an EDM, but
just real-time follow-up. The name of the president of Navarre is it's Tarina. With an
Tarina.
T apostrophe R-I-N-A.
Tarina. Yeah. So yes, they want to DMA. Yes, they wanted to basically go inside the spore drive, drop this thing inside this device that they had concocted, and then blow it up and then back out. Now they have the means to do that. So they've stolen this thing. They're off and they're gone. And we know it's serious because Book leaves Grudge behind on Discovery with Burnham.
Yeah.
And then basically Burnham teleports down to the shuttle bay just in time to watch him bolt out of there. And that's the end of the first half of season 1. And
we get to see Book's ship do the little twisty thingy, which I thought was really cool.
He did a jump. Yeah.
So February 10th will be the date that we are now looking forward to as we look ahead to the second half of season 4.
I know that 10cc is a really good 70s, 80s music band. Like, how did we get 10C?
Yeah, they just sort of dropped it at the beginning. I think it was maybe 3 episodes back. They sort of said, well, we don't know what to call these.
So we'll call them 10C.
So we'll just call it, yeah.
Like, I always wonder, like, they're like, for species 10C, it's like, why 10C? Was there a 10A and B? What happens to 1 through, like, I don't know. I just, like, why 10C?
Because it sounds like tense.
Oh, maybe?
They can't use 10-4 word?
The alcoholic people that we can't find? I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. They got really drunk and made a dark matter anomaly. They were
in Voyager. There was species 8472, right?
Right.
How did they circle around? Now they're like, okay, we're done with it. We got up to the high numbers. Now we're gonna go back and put letters at the end of those.
Yeah. So they're using IPv6 numbers now instead of IPv4 ones.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of what you expected from a mid-season finale episode. Mm-hmm. It sort of sets the stakes for the second half of the season, and it also kind of gives you a little bit of who the players are. So we now know that Book and Tark are in bed together. We've got Burnham in the group on the other side. We've got Zora, things sorted out. We've got this lingering storyline with Culber and Tilly are taken care of. The storyline with Gray is taken care of. So we kind of cleared the decks for theoretically a more sort of strong push to the finish here. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
Of course, the question is now, where can we see the second half of the season? Because we had that discussion before of like, well, is this break a time to switch over to go from like, oh, you can watch it on like in Canada here, it's on Crave, or you can watch it on our cable TV through our Magic Socialized Sci-Fi. Although no, I don't know, is it part of HBO or is it part of CTV Sci-Fi? Right,
CTV Sci-Fi here,
which is technically like it's a not a free channel, but it's like it's not like HBO. It's not a premium channel.
Yeah,
right. No. It's part of
and it won't be on. I mean, basically, like I think Jonathan rattled off the dates. I think you and I were talking the other day, and you rattled them off. Like what the
in the episode last week, we talked about when things are coming back. So basically, next week is the return of Star Trek Prodigy. Yeah. That is going to run its course. When that runs out, then we segue straight back into the next half of Season of Discovery. When that ends, then we segue into Picard.
It's 6 weeks, by the way. It's 6 weeks from today, which is the Thursday, the December 30th. Happy New Year, by the way, to everyone listening to this podcast.
Yeah, we're in the future now.
We're in the future, yes. Happy 2022.
Happy last year.
I'm so glad that 2021 is over now, finally.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right, Zave. I think I wonder if there's another ulterior motive. Obviously, it's nice for them if they don't double up because then they can stretch that content out and stretch the subscribers out. But we talked about the fact that Paramount Plus is going to be launching in other markets outside of North America in 2022. I wonder if they're going to try and ramp that up in time so that people can catch up and then watch those new episodes on Paramount Plus, as opposed to that. I can't even recall the name of the weird, obscure third party. No, it wasn't Peacock. Well, I'll check through the show notes here, but it was something I had never heard of before.
It's not Stack TV. That's the other one.
Yeah, Jaime had mentioned it several episodes back that it was going to be on this random.
I don't know. Let's see.
Thing. As I travel back in time, watch me as I travel back in time. This is some good television. Pluto.
Oh,
Pluto TV.
What's Pluto? Oh, Pluto TV. Yeah.
Pluto TV is where it is currently airing. So if you're watching it outside of,
but is Pluto TV real channel?
Well, Jaime seems to recognize it, and he is the master. He is the master of all things.
You didn't get the joke that is it really it's no longer a planet.
Oh, come on. What I hate. It's not a planetoid.
Pluto TV is an American channel. So Pluto TV is an internet television service owned and operated by Viacom CBS Streaming, a division of Viacom CBS.
Shocking.
Based in LA, California, in the United States, and parts of Europe, Latin America, and Brazil.
Yeah. That's where you'll find it if you're not watching it in America or in Canada.
But it is owned by Viacom CBS, so theoretically that's like kind of like CBS All Access.
Yeah,
but Paramount Plus is also on kind Netflix. Of like CBS All Access.
The Star Trek stuff was on Netflix previously, right?
Yeah,
worldwide.
It was Netflix International, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be a good opportunity for that, but I do think that there is something to be said for, we always joke with Jaime that, the goal of these platforms now is to keep giving you content so that you don't take breaks. They want you to keep paying monthly, and they especially want you to get into the habit of not going off and on, off and on, off and on. They want you to stay on as often as possible. So for them, if they know they have this rabid Star Trek fan base, if they spread these things out and they take their time with them, they're going to keep more dollars in their pockets.
Right.
So that makes sense to me, irrespective of whether or not they're going to have the Paramount Plus internationally or otherwise. Although again, if they can get that up, that's even better because it's more money in their pockets if they can launch that too. So
it's the Lopez Calculus, we're calling that, right?
The Lopez Calculus. Yes. Any remaining thoughts on?
Well, my one concern, this was a very Star Trek-y kind of show because it was a lot of talking, not so much pew pew pew, and for those of us who weren't actually looking at the screen as the episode was going on, it was very confusing when Stamets and Burnham were doing their talk at the same time. I looked up at the screen and went, "What?" Because it was almost like they were saying one thing, but they were like, it's kind of like they were both saying the same thing, but in different ways.
It's almost as if there was a symmetry there and one had to watch the visual medium to understand what was happening.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
This television thing you speak of, does it require eyes and ears, or just
it's kind of like this video where people might be looking at right now. Exactly.
I mean, if you didn't watch the video version of this, you would miss my awesome Spotcast shirt, which you can't get. One of a kind.
You should show them the Matrix variation on that one.
Oh yes, I'll see if I can. Yeah. Through the magic of green screens.
Yeah.
This is why you wear your green shirt to record a podcast, kids.
Yeah. There you go.
I have to speak so you become the camera.
But you can add video? Oh good. That's
you can add video to the feed. You can have sharks swimming across your
repeat after me, Xavier. Whoa. Which pill did you take to get it to look like that, man?
Exactly.
And do you have others?
So speaking of the Hawkeye season finale.
Yes. So season finale, we got a whole bunch of colliding storylines come together. We had the culmination of the Yelena trying to kill Clint, the Clint trying to get home, the what's going on with Kate and Kate's mom, what's going on with Jack, what's going on with Echo, what's going on with the Kingpin. They really had stacked a lot of stuff to finish up in an hour-long finale.
Yeah, it was a lot of pew-pew.
And that was kind of my only issue with it. Was I thought this was a really fun series. I really loved the chemistry, the chemistry between Kate and Clint, the chemistry between Kate and Yelena, or Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld was great. And there were some great moments in the finale, but man, they were trying to do a lot. They were really trying to do a lot in this one episode. Like, I really feel like it would have been more satisfying if maybe we could have wrapped up the Echo stuff when they're going to do her own series, or if we could have done the Echo stuff in the penultimate episode, just so that we didn't have so much lifting to do. Because as it was, and again, it was deftly done. Disney does great stuff. It was done well, but there was still, I felt like, too many hurdles to clear in one episode, and it just became a little bit too cluttered.
Yeah,
that being said, it was busy.
It was really well done, relatively speaking. But yeah, there was, I mean, like thinking back on it now, like you say, when you point out the different plot lines that were being closed off, I mean, like Yelena and Clint don't actually meet up until all of the tracksuits have been dispatched, right? Which is kind of a weird thing, because like you're thinking, well, what if there's one rogue guy who's just waking up and the Kingpin thing was and we talked about this a bit last week with Xavier about the beating that Kate takes and the beating that Kingpin take. I mean, like, that's my not knowing who Kingpin was. Now that I've been watching Daredevil, I'm getting a better sense of who he is. But kind of wondering, like, what is he? Some sort of alien force, very much like a Jessica Jones who can heal instantly, kind of thing. Even though
there's two things. One, he's supposed to be massive and very hard to penetrate just because he's so physically intimidating. The other is that he's a mobster, so he has like Kevlar basically sewn into his clothing.
Oh, true. Yeah, I did see that in the latest episode of Daredevil I was watching. Somebody tried to stab him,
he's not bulletproof, but you kind of got to shoot him between the eyes, and it has to be a very large bullet.
So, or arrow, as the case may be.
Or arrow, as the case may be. Yeah. Well, in this case, it is a bullet, right? Because that's the... that's
ironically, Kevlar does not defend you against arrows. It defends you against bullets.
Well, because it's not... Yeah, it's about force and impact versus penetration, right?
I don't know. I mean, it'd be better than nothing, you would think.
What, sure. Kevlar? No, I mean, the thing about it is the needle, the point of an arrow can go through the threads in the fabric, which is how Kevlar works.
Yeah.
Kevlar, like a bullet, when a bullet hits you, it's actually a blob of lead.
Yeah.
right? So it just kind of can't go through the threads, and that's how you still get knocked off your keystroke.
Oh yeah.
And it does hurt, but yeah, you don't
just make a hole
die.
in you.
You get a nice bruise, right?
A bruise is better than a hole.
I don't ever want to try that out, just to be sure.
Yeah, no.
That's clear.
Well, next time you bring your Kevlar vest over, I'll bring out the 12 gauge and see how it works out.
Isn't that?
But definitely,
right?
you gotta say, definitely, you gotta say that Hawkeye is definitely one of the better, Marvel vehicles that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so much more grounded. Obviously, it was a little bit closer to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as far as just being a little more sort of rooted, but it was a lot. They were trying, in the same way that I kind of struggled with some of these other movies, the Eternals we talked about, just trying to sort of do too much. This kind of felt like the same thing. Like it was a backdoor pilot for the Echo series, while simultaneously being a new vehicle for launching the new Hawkeye, while simultaneously saying goodbye to the old Hawkeye, while simultaneously building, bringing back the Kingpin into the Marvel universe. It's just a lot. It was a lot. Especially for 6 episodes in 6 weeks, or 6 episodes in 5 weeks, it was a bit of a lot. I think it would have been a little cleaner if you could have taken some of that clutter out. I think when you get down to the root of it, which is, Clint, his guilt, Kate, her aspirations, and even if you added in the Yelena, trying to resolve her feelings about her sister's death stuff, I think that would have been enough. But adding in the kingpin of it all, the whole red herring with, the swordsman, Jack, and all that, plus the Echo stuff, it was a lot to cram into one series. The reason it rose above and the reason that it thrived, I think, was because I think that the actors and actresses were phenomenal. There was some great action stuff. And in the end, I think it's going to hold up fine. But I think this is another one of those series that it has a lot more glue than it does glitter.
Yeah. I mean, so just to back up on the whole concept of these. So Clint is a talented human being. He's not got any special capabilities. And same with Yelena. Yelena's just been trained to the nines like Black Widow has been.
Yep.
As is Kate. Kate's just
Kate,
like
same thing.
Good archer person.
He does actually call her partner in this episode, which is, sort of that's a kind of a point for her that she's been sort of trying to get to, right? So could she kind of in that one.
What was your takeaway from the end of this, where she's trying to figure out what to name herself, and one of the closing scenes there, she says, what about Hawk Girl? What about
But isn't she going to be? Isn't that you just said she's going to be the new Hawkeye, right?
She's the new Hawkeye. Well, that's what he says. I've got a better idea, and then it closes with the Hawkeye logo.
Oh, I see. Right.
So the idea is that the torch is then passed. So the question then becomes: is this the last we see of Jeremy Renner?
Sure.
In the MCU?
Yeah, could be.
And as such, are you sort of okay because the torch
he burned the Ronin uniform too, right? So
yeah, but he's still got his new uniform that they do this one, which, by the way, I thought looked ridiculous. I did not like it at all. His new uniform, I thought hers looked fantastic. Hers looked very sort of comics accurate and good. His just looked like he was wearing clothes 2 sizes too small for him. But I thought
that's really what most superhero outfits are. It's just like tight spandex.
Yeah, although hers, again, seems somewhat pragmatic. Like it had, It
looked more armor-like and less just like tight fit suit.
Yeah.
Stretchy, yeah.
But yeah, I think as a send-off for Jeremy Renner's character, I don't think this was bad. It does do a good job of passing the torch. And I think if this was the last that we see of that character, and we're just supposed to think he's retired now, he's going to quietly go deaf on the farm with his wife and his kids, that's good. Did you guys, this is the one I wanted to run by both of you. So the MacGuffin of this series was the watch, right? The Rolex.
Yeah.
Was because we, the suit we got early, the sword he got back. So the question was, what's the significance of the Rolex? And in the end, we discovered that it was his wife's, and that when she flips it over, you see the SHIELD logo, and it says Agent 19. So Agent 19 is the code number for Mockingbird, who is a very famous comic book character, famously married to Hawkeye for a long period of time in the comics. Therefore, we're supposed to get that his wife was at one point a SHIELD agent, as at one point was Mockingbird.
Right.
Did you guys get that in the moment?
No, I didn't know. None of that. Like, now that you explained it, obviously I understand. But I've never heard of the character. I've never heard of Agent 19. I'm not familiar with Agents of Shield. Again, maybe if I'd watched the TV show, it would make more sense. But like, did they cover Mockingbird, Agent 19? I guess it's something they cover in Agents of Shield.
No, I don't think so. Mind you, I stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It got really, really boring there.
Okay, because I was like, I felt like, I don't know if that was I missed something because I missed a show, or if that's I missed something because I haven't read the comics. Like, because again, if you don't have that knowledge from, I guess, the comic books, then does that really make sense? Like, because you just be like, oh, okay, it's a watch that does the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on it, like, and you're supposed to assume that, like, I mean, I inferred that meant that she was supposed to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. It was just a question of like whether, like the significance of that it was the, Agent 19, or that, what that had to do with Mockingbird. I think that's the kind of thing you might only know if you'd read the comic books. So
right, yeah. I mean, I didn't make that leap, but I did notice the logo on the back. It didn't really tweak with me either that it was a S.H.I.E.L.D. logo, but yeah. And of course, like you said, how would we know as non-Marvel comic book kind of people,
as the lowly only TV and movie and watchers people.
And to be fair, like, it's not something that, like, even Agent 19, not every comic fan even knows that. I just happen to own and have read a comic where she debuts a long, long time ago. She doesn't use that moniker very often, but it's, to me, I think, again, that's one of those sort of weird, I don't want to call it a flaw, but it's maybe an overreach, that there's this MacGuffin through this whole thing that's so important. But even when she gets it back, she's like, cool, but like, what's the difference whether they have that or not? Is it just because it means something to her? Is there something special inside? Is there like a list of names inside? Like, they really don't do a good, satisfying job of why the watch matters so much, other than like his wife wants it. Like, they
don't un-MacGuffin the MacGuffin.
They don't do a good job of trying to explain it at all. It really just seemed to be a thing for moving the plot forward, which is the epitome of a MacGuffin. And so that, again, didn't land very well for me. And in spite of my having that knowledge, I still was like, oh, okay, so we're supposed to infer that she's Mockingbird. Cool. But why does the watch matter so much?
Well, like, again, the difference? Yeah. Well, it identifies her somehow. That's what he said to her at the very end. But I mean, like to your point, though, if Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is going away, what's the point of surfacing her as Mockingbird?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett. So this was an episode where I guess it answers a lot of the questions like, okay, he died in Return of the Jedi, and then he returned in Mandalorian, and how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit, and and a number of things, and like the whole, I mean, spoilers for people who haven't seen it, I guess. The whole series with the Tusken Raiders, where he's trying to survive that ordeal. He gets kidnapped, he survives, he makes friends with this young Tusken Raider. I don't know if that comes back later on. It seems that
we see him in The Mandalorian. He looks like he has been living a hard life, but he's also mastered the gaffy stick, which is the weapon that they use.
Okay, right.
Because he uses that to beat the tar out of a bunch of stormtroopers in The Mandalorian. So we know that he must have gotten some training at some point on how to use a gaffy stick. And so here, I guess, is where we're sort of building that bridge to how he survived, what happened to him afterwards, and then what he's been up to in the intervening time, which by our maths works out to be about 5 years.
I was going to say, like, because they didn't try and de-age the actor. Are we supposed to think I was going to ask you about a time reference here. Does the Mandalorian must come right at the end of
Mandalorian is supposed to be 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So it's the Empire has fallen. There are still pockets of it out there. The New Republic has been formed, but it isn't everywhere yet. And now they're trying to sort of bring the rest of the galaxy back to heel, while at the same time, we know that Palpatine is theoretically alive and has been cloned and is sort of working to rebuild the First Order out on the fringes of the galaxy. So that's what the whole Grogu's blood stuff all sort of adds up to, right? They're trying to basically extract midichlorians and clone a
So I have one sort of inappropriate question that I've often wondered about, having seen Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. When Boba Fett goes and finds Jango Fett's helmet,
Why doesn't his head fall out?
Why doesn't the head fall out?
Yeah. I've seen people do that on Photoshop where there's the scene where he picks it up and holds it like this and you just see the head roll away. Yeah, I had the same thought as I watched that. I was like, that's a meme. I don't understand why the bloody stumped head doesn't just fall out. But
yeah, because I mean, like, why would you mourn your dad's helmet? Like, maybe he took it off because he was sweaty, you know?
Well, I think he's supposed to have looked over and seen his decapitated father, so...
Oh, maybe, I guess. Yeah. But wouldn't you go and hug your decapitated father's body? I don't know. What would you do, Zave, in that situation? What would you do?
If you saw my head and,
just empty his pockets and get his Visa card and walk away? What?
Yeah. I'd go back to the house that I now owned and the car that I now owned.
You'd be going, sweet, iPhone 13 Pro, yay.
Yeah. And then
sweet, $100,000 of comic books I can now sell.
Woohoo!
I'm set.
Good to know where you're at, son. I got to be honest. As a first episode, I thought this was pretty weak.
Really?
It didn't blow me away. Didn't blow me away.
No.
I thought they kind of rushed a little bit between the two storylines. I don't have a clear direction of where it's going, other than like they're going to tell you these sort of two parallel tracks of where he was and where he is. I mean, I'm in. Obviously, I'm in. It's not like I'm going to be like, to hell with this series, but it really did not grip me in the way that I was hoping.
Yeah.
I think as a longtime Star Wars fan who's read plenty of expanded universe comics, whatever, the idea of him getting out of the Sarlacc in what was probably 30 to 50 seconds of this episode bummed me out. I just thought it should be more of an ordeal. He literally like wakes up, is like, oh, I was knocked out and I'm inside of a Sarlacc. This sucks. Oh, I'll just get a breath of fresh air from this guy over here and then I'll burn my way out. And then I'm out. Like, it just felt really not as well told as some of the expanded universe material about how he had to endure that.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, that's a different perspective, I guess. I mean, for me, I kind of wonder if some of this background stuff shouldn't have been done in episode 2 or 3. I don't know how many episodes they're doing, but I mean, like, kind of like you want to establish him as a badass guy. You want to establish him and I've forgotten the name of the new character, taking over Jabba's.
Fennec Shand, yeah.
Taking over Jabba's, what do you call it? What do they call these guys?
Well, he's a daimyo. He's a warlord, basically. He's
taking over
a crime lord.
Yeah, taking over his syndicate, right?
Yeah.
And establishing himself, like he's got to walk through the town and not get carried through like a whatever. He establishes
like a sultan, yeah.
He establishes that he's going to be slightly different. I mean, they could have spent the episode doing that, or whatever they're going to do in episode 2. They could have done that this time, and then satisfied those of us who were thinking, well, what about the Sarlacc pit, and what about how did he learn to use the stick and all that kind of stuff? Like when did that happen, right? So I mean, I looked at him and I thought, when did his face get all burned up? That was never addressed either, right?
Yeah, although I think the idea is that. That damage is supposed to happen between being inside the Sarlacc pit and also being exposed after that, right? They basically are
leaving out in the sun or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I thought his face was scarred during that whole period there. I will tell you though,
7 episodes, Tim. 7 episodes.
Okay, so I guess they have to shut us up about that. What about the Sarlacc pit, man? Early, I guess, to get that done. I mean, I didn't not enjoy the show. I thought it was pretty good. It's pretty Star Warsy, So
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we always talk about. It's any Star Wars is good Star Wars. Any Star Trek is good Star Trek. There's always good things to take away from it. It just felt a little, I mean, the idea of a standalone Boba Fett movie, TV show, any of that stuff has been lingering for decades. That's something the fans really want. I'll be curious. I haven't really spent any time looking into it. We watched it last night, and I haven't spent any time sort of exploring other people's takes on it so far, so perhaps I'm in the minority. But it just felt a little on the nose. Like nothing happened there that I wouldn't have been able to, 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters. Like it didn't take me anywhere I didn't expect to go. And I still don't know what the purpose of it is. Like what is this? He's now going to take over as the crime lord. We're going to get his backstory of how he survived all this stuff and how it shaped him. I hope it's more than that, because so far I don't feel an investment, which is just disappointing. I think that's, maybe it was just too built up in my head. Maybe I'm still cluttered from the expanded universe takes on some of this stuff. Maybe it's just the hype. Also, the one thing I did see a little bit on social even today was people saying like the whole point of Boba Fett was that he was a man of few words in the original movies, and he was a man of mystery. He never took his mask off.
Yeah, exactly.
He said very little. And so far in this one, he wears his helmet very little. He wears his bald Tamura Morrison noggin out most of the time, which I think kind of ruins the effect. And 2, he talks a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
It kind of takes the wind out of the sails a little bit, like they're not leaning into the strengths of the character, which is this mysterious man with his own sort of code, doing his own thing in a very polarized galaxy, but he's charting his own path. And maybe they'll get more to the root of that, but so far it just feels like paint by numbers.
Yeah, it's true. I did like the appearance of the Jawas. I thought they were pretty funny.
Yeah.
They just sort of like nothing sacred to them.
Nope.
And then I did appreciate the fact that they didn't try and put subtitles on the Tuscans, so they just let their language be what it is, right? So mind you, I didn't turn subtitles on this episode, but there
are some really good expanded universe stories about the Tuscans and the way that they live and sort of the depths of their culture and stuff like that. I think they treat them a little bit like an indigenous culture should be treated, which is to respect their ways in some of the stories that have been told outside of that. And I'm hoping they capture a little bit of that there too, where it's not necessarily about speaking the same language if you understand people's intent and values.
So the other question I have is the entire planet covered in little balls with water in them?
Yeah, and if so, where were those in every other Tatooine story we ever saw ever?
Ever, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They look like those. What do you call those? Those sea anemones that you get where it's like coral, and when they die, they just leave these little balls.
Yeah. I thought they looked like watermelons, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit
like roundish with the little the weird colored veins instead of dark.
I thought they were hard shelled, I
don't know. Yeah, to me they were like melons or something, but
I couldn't decide whether they were supposed to be like a sort of fruit or vegetable, or if they were supposed to be like a living creature of some kind.
I thought they were like coconuts, right? Where you crack them open and there's like liquid inside that you could drink.
Yeah.
Like water coconuts?
Ground coconuts?
They're like, but like melons, where like crack them open, there's liquid, you can drink it,
I did appreciate that the monster that he fights off with, that young Tusken, looked very much like the Kraken from the 1980 Clash of the Titans with the Ray Harryhausen monsters in it. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting that and when it walked like a centaur, Yeah. So that was a really interesting. But the thing I was thinking about though is, and I know that Leia, he does the Leia trick where he uses the chain to choke whatever he's fighting, right?
Yeah, the Leia maneuver. Yeah.
It's kind of like the one conceit about Star Wars University. It's the same thing we have in Star Trek. Is that in Star Trek everybody has 2 eyes, a nose, ears, and a mouth, and 2 arms and 2 legs, and private parts where private parts are, right? But except in the undiscovered country, but does every creature in the entire universe breathe through their from their head? And like octopuses don't.
Yeah.
And do they all breathe the same air? Well,
exactly. And then the way they kill them is just choke them with a chain that you're attached to,
and then apparently like sever its head and walk around the village going, look ahead.
Yeah. And so he wins the favor of the chieftain because he lets his son walk around and say, look, we killed this, I'm now a man because I
think he basically lets the kid take credit for it, right? Like I don't think he says like, you did this. I think he comes back basically saying like, the kid did his first heroic act or whatever. Yeah. So he lets the kid take the credit for the big achievement basically.
Yeah, and the dad kind of goes, "Yeah, hey, thanks." Right?
Yeah, here, have a shot on me.
Yeah. Well, and
I guess. Yeah. I think it's good. I think it's good to be in that universe. I like the character. I am glad that it's here. I just think it was kind of a little bit. I think the biggest issue I has is that the series hasn't defined its stakes. Like, what is it about? If all it's about is let's talk about where he was and what he's doing now. And what he's doing now is trying to build his own crime syndicate, and he's going to come up against other bad guys, and like, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. It's just, I kind of want it to be more than that. I really want a Boba Fett series to be something absolutely memorable.
I guess the question is, since you've read the extended universe stuff, where does he end up with, like in the Force Awakens time frame? Like where is Boba Fett at that point in time?
I have not seen any stories from that far in the future. So the stuff that I've read in book form and then in comic book form are all set in this sort of time frame, like with the few years after. In different iterations, he survives the Sarlacc pit for different reasons, depending on which interpretation you read. He survives, and then he basically goes back out and resumes his bounty hunting career, the wider, career. It doesn't go this path of wanting to start his own crime empire and stuff like that. And it puts him into conflict with the other bounty hunters. So he encounters some of the other sort of menagerie of those people. And yeah, it really doesn't have this same arc. Yeah. But the root of all of them is that, he's kind of changed by the experience of surviving something as deadly as being swallowed by a Sarlacc. And it does do pretty serious damage to him, which I think they capture here with him having to keep putting himself back into that back to tank.
Back to tank. Yeah. I thought I kind of thought he was in that just because it's kind of like a rich man's thing to do,
Yeah. Although, I don't even know if they could have poured the gigantic version of Bib Fortuna that they had at the end of The Mandalorian into that thing, because he was looking pretty corpulent, large of.
Well, I was going to say, where's Jabba the Hutt back to tank, right?
Yeah, really.
Is that the swimming pool?
Waiting pool.
Exactly.
What about you, Zave? You're a little bit sort of more disconnected, and obviously, the Return of the Jedi's ancient history to you. What was your take on this version of this?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I agree with you. I don't think it was like, I didn't blow my socks out. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing, I can't wait for more. It was like, this is good. Like, I'm fine with it. It wasn't like this is bad, but I wasn't like eager for more, And if I was, it was more like, I want to see them, like, I want to see the rest of this because I want to see if it gets better, Like, I think if this was it and I never saw it anymore, I'd probably be like, it was fine. Not much happened. I think I'm sure over the course of the 7 episodes, it will play out more. I think this is a very sort of just getting your feet wet. Like, it was very introductory, very surface level. So hopefully over the next couple episodes, they'll go into more detail about how all this plays out, and we'll get some more in-depth look at this stuff. Until then, I'm like, yeah, I mean, again, I think it's hard to just something like this, especially at the beginning, because it is a very surface level thing, right? Like, they're sort of like, okay, here's what's happening, and now we'll continue with this over the next episode, 2, 3, 4.
But don't you want that first episode to hook you? Don't you want there to be a beyond just like, again, it shouldn't be enough that the character is the hook. That's, I think, where that's what I'm saying. I'm concerned is just saying, we're doing Hawkeye, we're doing Captain America, we're doing Boba Fett, we're doing Jabba the Hutt. Like, that shouldn't be enough of a hook. It is, unfortunately, but it shouldn't be enough of a hook. It still should be using the tools of good storytelling to bring you in so that you care about what's happening to that character, not just that the character is there.
No, and I absolutely agree with that. I'm just saying, I think that they're sort of looking at this as like the first episode isn't so much a hook, it's like I don't know how to say this. Like, my hope is that over the course of the next couple episodes, more will happen and I will become more engaged with the material.
Well, here's an example. Here's an example. Like we've talked about Witcher on the show. I watched maybe 20 minutes of Witcher, and I have not watched an episode since. Right, and then what was the one I watched the other day? Wheel of Time. I watched about 5 minutes of the Wheel of Time, and I haven't gone back to it since. I mean, I think that's what we're talking about. Is that there needs to be some reason, some compelling reason, other than the fact that it's Star Wars, why you want to come back, right? So and I think Jonathan may be right. Maybe there is no compelling reason. I mean, it was better than, I tell you this, even taking off my Star Trek fan hat, Star Wars fan hat, I should say. Star Lost hat.
Space 2099?
Yeah, Space 1999
Adventure show.
I mean, even Space 1999 had you hooked on the first episode, right? Like, they blew up the moon, and
think about it, even like the first episode, the pilot of Battlestar Galactica. Like, man, that is a sales pitch. You want to see what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not if you've seen the movie.
Firefly is even better when it's own horror, I'm told. Like, I mean, you know what's better than the first episode? This is the first thing you get to see. Then not the first episode is the best thing to see.
Definitely that.
Well, can you imagine, like, what was the first episode of Firefly? I think it was the second or third episode. Was
the Train Job, I think, was the first one they aired.
Sorry?
Which, again, is a phenomenal
The Train Job, the one where they steal, they break into the train and they steal stuff, but you have no idea who the characters are, what's happening.
But it's a great episode with great characters, great acting, great chemistry, and it'll get you hooked. You might be like, I don't know what's going on. None of this plot makes sense. But if you're like, hey, this is interesting and fun and I want to see more, maybe you'll stick around to watch episode 7 and then 1 and then
Jabba
2.
Or not Jabba, Boba Fett and his partner
Fennec.
It was compelling enough to watch, you know, and sort of the way he sort of, you know, gets the two Gamorrean guards to side with him. It was kind of
the two sort of threads that they start to weave as you go through this are the one where the mayor's vassal shows up and basically says like, oh no, we don't bribe you, you bribe us, and you're going to be getting another visit soon. So that's obviously setting up a conflict with the mayor of Mos Espa. And then the other one is you don't cast Jennifer Beals as the Twi'lek, the with the two things out the back of her head. You don't cast an actress the caliber of Jennifer Beals in that role unless she's going to have a lot more to do.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the sort of two possible future points that this goes, but again, not a lot of hook, not a lot of sizzle, and not a lot of steak. So hopefully season 2, episode 2 comes back strong and we get a little more to dig into. But again, any Star Wars is good Star Wars. Seeing Boba Fett, the bit where they, you know,
any Star Wars is good Star Wars.
No, let me take that back.
Episode 9, come on.
Who said that?
Episode 9. That's not the worst one.
Episode 9
Rise of Skywalker.
Pretty close to the worst.
Attack of the Clones.
Okay, but episode 9 of the new trilogy is horrible.
Yeah, it should have been Darth Maul as the baddie.
Yeah, that you're applying logic.
Oh, and we're forgetting the best part of this premiere of Book of Boba Fett. Matt Berry as that robot, as Boba Fett's robot assistant friend. Like,
yes,
come on, Matt Berry, Douglas Renham.
Sure. Yeah,
lots
we were
of lines
joking.
We can't say.
Yeah, that's right. Damn these electric sex pants.
Redacted.
No, you're allowed to say sex pants on this show. You can't use anything more graphic than that. Yeah, we were joking because Richard Ayoade from so Xavier and I and our whole family, I think our favorite sitcom of all time is IT Crowd. Mm-hmm. And Richard Ayoade played Zero, one of the bounty hunters breaking into the prison in season 2 or season 1 of Mandalorian. Now we've got Matt Berry, who was also one of the stars of the show, playing one of the robots working for Boba. So we were going to be really, really supporting Catherine Parkinson and Chris O'Dowd, the other two remaining main characters from that show. We want them. Hear us, Disney Plus. We want Chris O'Dowd and Catherine Parkinson in some capacity on this show.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
And then at some point, an adventure for those 4 characters for no explicable reason.
Yeah, true. They go to like they all
work in Jabba's basement, right?
Yeah, they all work in IT. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our watch list. So we got quite a few things to go through here. So I just wanted to. I was going to put this in the sort of headliney follow-up fact-checky stuff, but I forgot to mention when I was talking about that Dark Matter BBC series. The reason I started watching it wasn't so much about that I was interested in Dark Matter. I didn't go out of my way to find it. I just sort of started playing it, and I recognized the voice. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Hannah Fry. So I stopped it and I went back and went back to the part where they because they introduced the person and they have the little subtitle name that shows up, and it turned out it was in fact Hannah Fry. So I listened to a podcast called The Curious Cases of Rutherford and Fry, otherwise known as Rutherford and Fry, which is get the names here in one sec. Adam Rutherford and Hannah Fry do a show on BBC where they basically take different, scientific things and talk about them and poke holes in them and that kind of stuff. So they'll do like a thing on string theory, or like this week they did they're doing a session on AI, but not like the machines taking over the world. They did do that one, but they're sort of like how AI is being used in today's society. Anyways, from a scientific point of view, it's a really, really interesting thing, and they've been doing it for a number of years. So there's a bit of banter between the two of them. So it's kind of really interesting thing. And she's a super smart woman. So yeah, anything she's on that I recognize her voice, I'll sit and watch. So there you go. Rutherford and Fry. My second one is Don't Look Up. My advice is don't watch this, or don't watch at all. Don't look anywhere. Amazing cast, right? And shot during COVID. They were all in a bubble. It's like Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio and the president. Meryl Streep plays the president. She plays the president very close to a recent president we may have had. And Jonah Hill plays her son, and his expectation is he carries a Merce. And it's about without giving the spoilers away, it's about a comet coming towards the Earth and going to destroy the Earth, and everybody's going to die in 6 months. And the social media network picks up on it. The news people pick up on it. There's a Daily Show with Cate Blanchett as one of the hosts, and who's the guy who does all the movies?
Tyler Perry,
yeah, they're like the morning hosts, and they have these two on to talk about, and they're doing the morning show thing, and they're going to have them on as the cute little science segment at the end, and so nobody's taking this thing seriously. And then there's the whole, nobody believes it's a real comet, and and
so it's a commentary on our times then.
So yeah, I understand. Thanks, Siri. Did I say Siri? I don't think I did.
She doesn't understand what's going on with this movie either.
I said. I apologize to all the Siri machines that got triggered by what I was just saying. But anyway,
hey Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's set an alarm for.
See you in 9 minutes and 54 seconds.
yes. So set an alarm for 4 a.m. please.
Yeah.
We're very sorry.
Amazing cast, interesting story, but you know what? It was just painful to watch. I mean, I think maybe, and people are loving it, and I don't get it.
So is it that they're not loving it says you didn't love the commentary? You didn't love the, which aspect of it that really didn't sit with you?
It's very uncomfortable to watch. The president is like annoying. You want to just slap them,
So that was like 2017 to 2021. I get that.
It's realistic.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just it's a rental is my basic vote on this. Is amazing cast, but if you look on my letterboxed review, amazing cast, horrible movie, basically 3 stars. Yeah, I don't often give 3 stars that much. Yeah, so that was good. And did I talk about Encounter a couple of weeks ago?
It doesn't ring a bell.
So Encounter is, and then of course, got to go to IMDb to get the name of the actor from Star Wars, Rogue One. So Encounter kind of showed up on my radar as something to watch on, I think it's Disney Plus. I want to say it's on the Apple TV, right? Riz Ahmed.
Yeah.
Riz Ahmed plays it, and Octavia Spencer's in it as well. Really good cast. It starts out as a guy who is trying to fight off an alien invasion. Did I not tell you this about this, John?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
So the trailer.
This isn't the same as Invasion or
something else.
Okay. No, it's about a guy who's an ex-military guy. He's just come back from Afghanistan, and he's fighting off this invasion that is taking over people, and taking them over and making them automatons and attacking and killing and whatever. So it starts off like a sci-fi movie, but it isn't a sci-fi movie, because as the story progresses, you find out more and more about the fact that, because the question is this invasion real, or is it in his head? That's all I'm going to say. And it goes on from there, and it's really interesting movie. But I think overall, Great story, but I, as a movie, I basically got to give it 3.5 stars. So it's better than Don't Look Up. If you're not going to watch Don't Look Up, watch Encounter. You won't be sorry. And my last one is a really, really good movie. I was a little worried about seeing this one at first because I Love Lucy. I'm a huge fan of I Love Lucy, as most people are. She was like, pioneer on American television, pioneer, in terms of, having a racially diverse relationship on TV. It's a biopic, and I mean, just in terms of endorsement, the movie is a portrayal of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and the relationship and the making of the I Love Lucy TV show and all the sort of controversies they go through. There's a question about Lucille Ball's past that gets unearthed during her career, which is a famous story. I'm not going to go into in case you didn't know it, because I didn't know it, and about Ricky Ricardo's, infidelity and that kind of stuff. Not Ricky Ricardo, Desi Arnaz infidelity. But the thing is, like, it was endorsed by Lucy Arnaz, which, she's the daughter of these two people. And if your kid who lived with you endorses this portrayal, it's pretty good. Now, I was a little like I didn't recognize the actors from the poster, whatever. But when I tell you that it's Javier Bardem plays Desi Arnaz.
And Nicole Kidman.
And Nicole Kidman plays Lucy. Yeah. Nicole Kidman is bang on. Like, it's Nicole Kidman at first, but probably after about 10 minutes, you're like, she's Lucille Ball. She's got the intonation, the voice down, and she even switches, because she's got the Lucy banter when she's just talking normally. Like, if you've seen her on Johnny Carson, I mean, like, Lucy was in all of our living rooms for many, many years. Even after I Love Lucy went away, she had a bunch of shows after that, right? Like Here's Lucy was one as well. So very well known for people of my age, I guess, and perhaps older, as a star. But when she's Lucy on the show, like Lucy Ricardo on the show, her voice changes and her portrayal, she becomes very cartoony. And Nicole Kidman just switches it on and off as needed. And it's a really, really good story. And a lot of interesting story background about Lucy. And I heard the other day that we're a fan of Lucy here on the show because she's the reason why Star Trek exists, because Desilu produced this as well. And now, you may also not know this, Jonathan, but if you're a fan of Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, you have Lucy Ball to think about that. Thanks for that, because she Desilu also brought out paid for Mission Impossible. But
she also was, I found this out last week, she's also partially responsible indirectly for The Twilight Zone, because she gave Rod Serling his first job, and it was off the strength of that first job that he got
Twilight Zone. Yeah. So she really, also a spokesperson for women. I mean, she physically got pregnant, and they were going to have her holding bags of laundry and standing behind furniture for for an entire season. And she says, no, we're not going to do that. Desi Arnaz was behind this too. No, she's going to have a baby on TV, not birth the baby. In fact, it turns out that the birth of little Ricky which ironically wasn't little Ricky, it was Lucy Arnaz. Yeah. But the birth of little Ricky was one of the most popular watched shows on television. I mean, if you think about it, 60 million people watched I Love Lucy. That's a lot of people. I
mean, again, this is a monoculture, right? This is when there was, only 3 channels.
Yeah, but there weren't that many people around to watch TV, it's not like it's back to
everybody who had a television set, that's what they watched, right?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, right. But interesting, because they do talk about her prior career as well. So definitely, if you're into it, it's a really good, really well done biopic. They kind of bounce around a lot, but it's done very well. So
one of the questions I heard raised about it, and I think you'd be a good perspective, actually both of you here as a great perspective. So I'll start with you, Tim.
Yeah.
So this movie is about something you are familiar with, right? You knew I Love Lucy. You watched it as a young person. Yeah. And so you knew who she was. Yeah. I am just that much younger than you, where she was not nearly in the public spotlight as much. Mm-hmm. There was still I Love Lucy in reruns, but it was something that was old and black and white, and we didn't really care too much about it. But that is not to say that I didn't know who she was. She was still famous. Xavier being, 30 years younger than me, what did you know prior to this conversation about Lucille Ball?
I'd heard of I Love Lucy, That's about it. Like I heard like I Love Lucy was like, yeah, that's the thing I've heard. That's about it.
Yeah.
Like no idea who she was, no idea anything about her.
She had a pet dinosaur and she, wrote on a stone tablet and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like honestly, if you like, yeah.
He may not know you're joking. So
no, but seriously, like again, I don't know. Like I have no context, right? This is like far beyond my time, and it's not something that's really exists in like the modern. Like it's like Friends, right? Friends was before my time, but it's still something that people my generation care about. This is sort of before that, Like
yeah, for me, it's in terms of perspective, like the '50s rock and roll music, like the Bill Haley and the Comets and all that kind of stuff. I like when I was your age. I mean, that to me was like foreign. I didn't understand why people like that stuff. And now I'll listen to it all day long, twice on Sunday.
Well, again, that's not to say that I wouldn't like it or that I'm not interested. It's
I'm just saying, I get that, like it's old people stuff, right? No, I get that because I mean, like my parents' friends would have played rock and roll when they were kids, like kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So that's the one thing I did question about this. As I saw that they were making it, and there was a little discussion about it being made because I guess Nicole Kidman got the job because Cate Blanchett backed out. And so when I heard they were doing this, I thought, well, that's interesting, but who the heck is this for? And I remember the same thing. So when I was a journalist, one of the films that I covered when I was out in Los Angeles was The Bucket List. You recall The Bucket List? It's a Jack Nicholson, Morgan Freeman.
Yes. I watched it. It was quite good. I very much enjoyed that.
I haven't watched that one yet either. So
it's good. It's very good.
It's actually a pretty good movie. Two really fine actors, and it's not bad. But I remember having a conversation sitting around a table with a bunch of other journalists, all who wrote about movies full time. And they were like, this is a good movie. Who the hell is this for? Because it starred two guys in their 70s. And it was about that time when you're thinking about the end of your life. And people don't want to go to the movies to hear about that kind of stuff. And also, it skews much older. And when I was thinking about Being the Ricardos, I kept thinking, there's a real cutoff line on this movie where even if you have Javier Bardem, who's a fantastic actor, even if you have Nicole Kidman, who's a good actor, even if you have a really well-told story, how do you hook people into this when the source material that it's based upon requires you to have lived at a certain point? So I wondered, like, I'd be really curious to see the numbers behind it. It's on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah. I mean, so let me see if I can answer that question because yeah, obviously for me there's a hook. I don't think like I don't think your mother Carol will watch it, right?
But do you have to be 60 plus to care about this movie?
No. So what's interesting about it is that from my perspective, what's interesting about it is it covers a lot of what television was like back in the day. I don't mean like what it was like to watch, but the behind the scenes stuff, like the fact that Philip Morris, who paid the money, they were selling cigarettes. Like Lucy smoked on the show for a reason, right?
Even while being pregnant.
I mean, and like even in the boardroom meetings, they would get upset with her because could she at least not smoke some of our? She's smoking Dunhill, which is not made by Philip Morris. So and she's a very, like, this is a very strong, powerful businesswoman. And I think she, like, as an example, I mean, it's like Birdman of Alcatraz. Who cares how somebody escaped from Alcatraz? Like, why would you watch that movie, right? It's not The Rock, which is, again, a real stretch to watch for anybody of any generation. Again, thank
Michael Bay.
But I mean, the
Lensflare.
So the
explosion.
It talks about the politics at the time. I didn't talk about communism, but it's in there. The whole blacklisting. It talks about how Ethel Mertz or Vivian Vance, who played Ethel Mertz, was a heavier set woman. There's a point there where she's concerned about her looks and her weight, and Lucy just encourages her to keep the weight because more American housewives look like Ethel than they do like Lucy.
Yeah.
In fact, it's interesting because Here's Lucy was a show that was on afterwards, and I remember watching that. Was in reruns. I mean, obviously I Love Lucy's before he was even in the country, like in terms of when it was on, and it was like early 60s. I think 66 was the last year that they produced it, and there was another show after that which I never watched. But so in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a show with Lucille Ball and her two kids, Desi Arnaz Jr. and Lucy Arnaz, right? And so I thought, well, I haven't seen an I Love Lucy in for I don't know how long. I don't know what channel it's on, if it's in syndication anymore either. So I went back and I went onto Amazon and I just searched and I found that Here's Lucy was on. Well, here's a show I didn't really like watching. It was kind of, you watched it because it was on kind of thing. So I sat down and watched the first 2 episodes, and it's funny because the second episode of they go on a vacation, and they end up going. She finds a really cheap, almost like an Airbnb. She finds a cheap place to stay. Well, it's cheap because it's owned by Jack Benny, right? Now, if you don't know who Jack Benny was, notoriously known as a cheapskate, right? So everything was like a 10 cents, or like, or you wanted a donut, oh, that's 50 cents, and he did anything for $1 in this show, and it's hilarious because at the very end of it, they come back to the house, and he's got a whole barbecue buffet set up, and it's not because he wants to feed them food, he wants them to serve a tour bus that's just pulled up to the house. And there's all these tourists that come in, and at the very end of it, they say, do you mind if the bus driver would like to grab something to eat? Do you mind if he comes and grabs something to eat? And they say, sure. And why not? And it's Gleason? Jackie Gleason.
Had to be Jackie Gleason.
He comes and doesn't say a word. Comes in, makes a hamburger, and they all pass him the mustard, just silently dressed as Ralph Cramden. Puts his burger together and goes, and then how sweet it is at the very end. And it's like so here are from the point of view of like TV legends, Jack Benny's one of them. Yeah. Jackie Gleason's another, and then of course Lucille Ball, right? So it's kind of, and it was sort of a goofy show, like a really stupid premise, but I think like the what's interesting about the movie, why you would watch this, is to sort of see how TV was made back in the day. Ricky Ricardo invented the live audience watching the taping. He invented, or not Ricky Ricardo, Desi Arnaz. He invented the way that the cameras would have 3 cameras at one time shooting a live performance, which is how Friends is done, which is how Seinfeld's done, how all the sitcoms are done to this day, with the audience up on risers. Yep. And shot on 35 millimeter film, so that it would always be the best that it could be, and it could go into syndication. All of this stuff was done it was like one of the first shows on TV to do this, right? And so some of the conventions that they invented in the making of this show are things that still happen today, right? Only digitally, kind of thing, right? So I mean, and again, like a strong businesswoman in a man's world, biracial, talking about pregnancy on TV without saying the P word, all that kind of stuff. So is really interesting portrayal of how TV was made. So I mean,
well, and the very deliberate choice of names too. So being the Ricardos, right? So it's being the Kardashians. It's like they're trying to lure a certain audience. I'll be curious to see how whether or not it's a good movie, whether or not it's a good time capsule of that period of time. I wonder if it will get the kind of audience that it deserves, just because of the era in which it's set, because of what's going to lure in that younger audience to care about this stuff. I always find this whole process fascinating.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nicole Kidman gets nominated for an Academy Award for this. Cool. Her portrayal is that good.
Good.
Is this something that's worth watching, like, from my perspective? Like, I have no context of I Love Lucy or I completely forgot the person's name. Like any of this stuff, no idea who this is. Is this still something worth watching? Like, can I watch this and go, okay, this is interesting, this is funny, this is whatever it's supposed to be? Or
I think so. I mean, like I as a fan of Lucille Ball, I mean, I've always been a fan of her work as a comedian and as an actress. I mean, as well. I mean, like, she was like 35, and she was in her most successful movie that she'd ever been in. It was not a comedy movie. I mean, she was in movies with the Marx Brothers and that kind of stuff, right? She gets this movie in with Henry Fonda, does great at the box office, but they let her contract go because she was 35 or 39. She was over the hill, right? Yeah. And that's, and then she goes into radio, and then on radio, she's amazing. And then it was from her radio work that they decided to put her on TV, right? So, and then she insisted that if you're going to put me on TV, my husband has to be Desi Arnaz. Which they're like, well, he can't be on TV for obvious reasons. And she says, yes, I know he can't be on for obvious reasons, which is why I want him to be on for obvious reasons. Like, they wouldn't even say we can't have a Cuban non-American person on TV as a leading man.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot.
Because God forbid you kiss him.
Well, I mean, so from that perspective, she broke a lot of ground. I mean, then I think that's the whole point of the movie. Other than the being like it was what was so significant about this TV show, in the same sense that the original series was significant, right? I mean, it's not like it. As a portrayal of a woman in society, it's not a very. I mean, it could be seen skewed as, like the man is in charge of the house and, it's not a very good representation of 50s life, but it was a good representation of 50s life and, culture and norms and that kind of stuff, wrong as they were, right? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I gave it four stars. I mean, what can I say? I would have given it 5 if they had a lightsaber in it.
Or if it could make your t-shirt turn into lines.
Yeah, exactly. He's not wearing his I Love Lucy shirt anyway.
My what? Again, like I have no context for any of this. So
welcome to Lucy Cast, kids.
Yeah.
Hey, we could do a TV show. We could review Lucy episodes of Lucy, right?
I'm sure someone out there is doing it. All right. I've got a couple things for the list I'll try and get through quickly. Now that I'm on my holiday break, I have finished watching Luke Cage season 2 as I'm trying to work my way through all the Netflix Marvel stuff, as not opposed to the Disney Plus Marvel stuff. I thought it was good. I thought some interesting performances. Very unsatisfying in that it really did seem like a middle chapter of a 3-chapter story at least. And because they canceled it, we don't have that conclusion. I think Mike Colter is a star, and I really hope as they continue to bring back characters from that a la Kingpin, I hope that we might see Mike Colter play that character again, because he is charming and very likable.
Isn't he in Defenders?
He is, yeah. And I hope that we see him in that role again, because he's fantastic. I'm also working my way with great reluctance through season 2 of Iron Fist. It is better than season 1, so if you were fed up with season 1 and the whinging, I understand. I feel your pain. It's not quite as painful. It did occur to me in watching all of these series, though. Luke Cage, Mike is great. But Simone Mizik playing Missy Knight is fantastic. And in Iron Fist, Finn Jones playing Iron Fist is okay, but it's I can't remember, Jessica Henwick. Thank you, Xavier. Playing. All right, go ahead.
Oh no, I can't remember it either. That's well, but again, I haven't watched
Colleen Wing.
But I haven't watched the show in like 2 years, so that's on you. You watched it like
2 days ago.
Night. Yeah.
Yes, I think she is the strength of that show, just like the character Karen Page in Daredevil, I think is actually really strong. It strikes me as I'm watching all these ones. Of course, Jessica Jones is the lead character in the Jessica Jones series. The women on these Netflix series are far more than the damsels in distress, and they're far more fleshed out because they do have these longer seasons where they can really give you more of them. And I find myself, as much as I would like to see the main characters brought forward into an MCU, I really find it's those characters, it's those really strong, substantial women that I'm thinking like I'd like to see more of in the future of MCU stuff. I know I saw an interview with Jessica Henwick last week when I started looking at this, because I was thinking, oh yeah, she was really good in this. And she said she was actually offered a role in Shang-Chi as a new character in the MCU, as one of the characters from that movie. And she turned it down, and she said, I didn't want to take that role. I want Colleen Wing back. I want to be Colleen Wing again. So I'm hoping.
I want that too.
Yeah. So I'm working my way through these last of these seasons, and I'm really enjoying parts of it. Again, there are certainly some holes you could drive a truck through. It's not as good, I think, in that cohesive way. It's over bloated. Luke Cage season 2 is 13 episodes. It probably could have been a nice tight 6 to 8 episodes and told a really strong story. It kind of goes off the path and back and forth. He ends up having the same like showdown fight with the same character like 4 times. It's like, okay, come on. It really felt more like filler, like old-fashioned television with filler episodes than it did substantial at times. But there's a lot of really good things out of this, and I think I'm enjoying it. I would say, I know, Tim, you haven't watched all of these either. I think there's certainly some material there to sink your teeth into. It's not all gold, but there are really certainly some very nice pieces of it that do feel golden. Also on my list this week, we're going to get on New Year's Day, Return to Hogwarts, the 20th anniversary special that is coming to HBO Max, and I think it's coming to Crave here in Canada.
Ooh.
It is the
Crave sucks.
So this is reuniting many of the stars of the series who are going to come back and talk about their experiences and what it meant to them and all these different things. Lots of people involved. I did see an article today that apparently Joanne Rowling is not going to be participating in any modern sense. Apparently they're going to use some previously recorded clips of her from other things that she's done in the special, but she declined to participate. They asked if it was because of the controversy around her transphobic statements this last little while, and they said no, just didn't fit into her schedule, so that's why she didn't participate. Right. I have a feeling that HBO did not extend the longest of branches to her for this, because obviously she's become a little bit of a pariah in a lot of people's eyes. Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint have all distanced themselves from her as far as her statements around trans rights. So hopefully that won't cloud this too much, because I think for a lot of us, including all three of us, I think there is a lot of enjoyment and value and goodness in the Harry Potter movies, and hopefully it's a nice celebration of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and seeing how they all think about this 20 years later. And someone in there inevitably is going to ask the question, when are you guys going to get back together and do something else? It's like the Beatles, right? You just can't break up and not have people keep asking you that.
It was interesting. I watched just before you finished that. Yeah. They were showing a sort of a best of Hogwarts contest where they had, and I think it's the finale probably is already on, but they've taken
the one on Crave,
the super fans. It was on Space Channel, but the super fans of Harry Potter have broken themselves into houses. So you've got Slytherin, Gryffindor, and the other ones I can't remember the other names.
Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw.
Yeah, so they have them playing against each other in trivia, Harry Potter trivia, and famous people coming on and reading parts of the book and all that kind of stuff, and just embarrassing these fans. I mean, I don't know how it ended up, but the Gryffindor ended up in last place of all, which is funny. Slytherin.
You may be brave. That doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah.
So a good memory.
But really interesting, sort of, to see the depth to which, I mean, like, it was sort of like the kind of Star Wars questions we could ask you that only you and two other people I know could answer. Kind of is that kind of level of detail. And we have a Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit game here in the house that no one will play me at anymore either. So Harry Potter as well. Wow.
Yeah.
It was hosted by Dame Helen Mirren, so it was kind of interesting. But it was done up very, very Harry Potter-ish. So it was a good tie-in to this lead up to this anniversary thing. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, and it is on Crave here. I know I've seen seen it pop up on my feed because it knows me. The last thing I have
before we go too deep out, why does Crave suck, Xavier?
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay.
Soapbox.
So, ladies, gentlemen, get ready. So, here is a short, not extensive, definitely not complete list of the problems with Crave. Number one, the interface. It's poorly laid out. The search function's terrible. It's hard to find what you're looking for. It's hard to find what you were watching before. Your watch list is unclear. Number two, again, the profiles, switching between profiles is very vague, very difficult. Sometimes you'll click on a profile, it'll just choose a different profile, and then you end up being someone else's profile, and that's really annoying. Number three, this is a really big one. It's only 1080p, not 4K, not HDR, not nothing. And it doesn't even look, it's not even like high quality 1080p. It's worse than Blu-ray quality. It just does not look good. Number however many, I don't care. 4. Next problem, 4. No surround sound. Not even Dolby Digital. Not even the most basic surround sound. Stereo only. Why? Star Trek Discovery. Crave has it. Great. Not surround sound.
So why? Do you watch it on your iOS devices, or do you watch it like you're watching it on your Apple TV? Like how is it?
I'm watching it on the smart TV's built-in app.
So
But again, like Netflix,
is that a Samsung Amazon thing, or like how do you know it's not the Android app or whatever that's the problem?
Well, because all the other apps, like smart TV apps, support surround sound.
No, I know, I get that. I mean, because I watch it off my phone, right? So I can't tell you why, but
I don't know. Anyways, it's annoying and it's ridiculous. Also, it's just
check that. I hadn't really noticed that, but now that you've pointed it out, I'm gonna be really disappointed next time I watch something on Crave. Yeah,
yeah, you should. Oh, and number 5, this is also a really big one, is that because we get Crave in Canada, we don't get HBO Max, which means we're losing out. So all this stuff that would be on HBO that we have to watch it on Crave, which and all this stuff that we would have been gotten on HBO Max, like, you know, again, Suicide Squad is just now coming out.
Matrix,
The Matrix, exactly. Like Dune, like all this stuff that's like HBO Max in America, you get it. It's just like,
well, Matrix is on.
Matrix Resurrections, the new one, is available. Jaime could watch that right now on HBO Max.
Oh yeah, don't talk to me about Jaime. Jaime who?
No, wow, I'm worried if anything ever happens to me, you're going to be like, well, he's dead to me. Let's find a new guest host.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get a new stepson. The job's open, Dave, if you want it. But what was I going to say? Oh man,
Crave bad.
HBO Max movies, The Matrix.
Yeah, HBO Max. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've talked about this before, and it's a little unknown thing is that the way that Canadian networks buy television shows it's not a foregone conclusion that an American network will have the same show, because the buyers are different for each locality, right? So when CBC and Space Channel and CTV and our Canadian Netflix go to LA to buy shows where they get pitched to them, they have a budget and they buy a certain number of shows. So I mean, it's not you can't really fault the fact that, well, except for the fact that there are things available on HBO Max that aren't available to anywhere in the world. But also look at the size of the audience. I mean, by the way, there's a new Chinese sci-fi that's just come out too. I don't know the name of it, but I saw a trailer on Netflix. I saw some pretty amazing Chinese, because I was going to say, because the US is 10 times larger than Canada, so therefore they're going to get a lot of attention. China is 10 times larger than the US.
By population, just to be clear, not geographical.
Well, but in terms of available eyeballs, right? I mean, like Douglas Adams talked about this in the 60s. The reason why TV shows get made is because they can put how many people in front of a soapbox ad.
Yep. And that's why you're seeing so much in, we just rewatched Skyfall. Xavier hadn't seen Skyfall, the James Bond, the third Daniel Craig movie. And we were watching it the other day, and I was thinking,
Javier Bardem bad guy
yes,
one? Okay.
Yes. And we were watching it, and I was like, there's 2 separate scenes in China. And that's 100% deliberate that they're there. Like they are trying to be.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Getting as many people who are like, oh, I live in Shanghai, I live in Macau, I'm going to watch this. Like they definitely are pandering, if not strategically placing these things.
Public announcement, or whatever you want to call it, soapboxy thing, whatever. The visual quality of this. So we watched Skyfall. We watched it on Apple TV. We have a copy on iTunes. And the quality was like not great. I don't think it was 4K. It definitely wasn't HDR. I think it was
4K. It wasn't 4K.
It was not 4K. It was just like the Blu-ray equivalent or whatever. It was surround sound, but it was not 4K. And again, there was a couple times like they were dark. Daniel Craig was on a boat, and his face couldn't really see the forehead or the eyebrows. It didn't really look very good. So again, some things look quite good. Some things. Yeah, I don't know. Again, 4K Blu-rays, the kind of, you get what you get. Streaming can be good because you obviously don't have to have physical media, but there can be quality issues. So
Xavier is 18, and for his Christmas present this year, you got how many 4K Blu-ray actual physical media discs?
I think 4. But you got a bunch too, so
I got a couple as well. But I think it's somewhat telling. I think that there is still now. Obviously, you are somebody who's very invested in high quality audio, high quality video. It's something you really enjoy, but I wonder.
I don't like Crave.
Well, it's one of those things that I really do wonder. We always talk about how the physical media will dissipate over time. More people will be invested in having access to streaming services, or they'll have access to, on-demand stuff, or they'll have all these different choices. I still think there's going to be a market for a while in physical media because there's still some gaps. There's definitely still some gaps.
Well, it's the same thing with people, again, no offense, but AirPod, the HomePods and the AirPods and all that stuff. It's like people take convenience over quality. They'd rather watch something on Netflix or stream it on Apple TV than go out and have a physical Blu-ray and put it in their Blu-ray player and actually watch it, because they don't have the space for the Blu-ray player. They don't have space to have shelving for all their Blu-rays. Same thing with audio, right? They don't want to have to go out and buy a full surround system with the receiver and all the speakers and all the subwoofers and everything, and get run all the wires and everything, because even though it sounds a lot better, it's a lot easier to just take this little thing, you plop it down in front of your TV and magic, high fidelity, whatever. It's all wireless. It's just plug it in and everything's easy, right? And again, and I don't blame people for that. It's unfortunate because it is affecting those of us who do care about audio quality, video quality, whatever, just because, it's fine if there's multiple options. It's just when the only option isn't high quality, that's when I get frustrated. And that's probably my problem with Crave, right?
The problem is your TVs are too big. That's why if you had smaller TVs, you wouldn't have this problem.
Their TVs are too small, actually. and that has nothing to do with audio quality. So that's just video quality.
No, but you don't like my amplifier either. So that's another one. That's on me.
Your amplifier is perfectly fine. It's outdated.
I'm loving my 2 HomePod Maxis, whatever they call them.
You don't even have surround sound. You're not even it's not even like you have Atmos. You don't even have surround sound. It's 2 of them. You have 2. You know what that is? Stereo.
You know what, Xavier? I used to have surround sound, but none of you guys ever used it, so I got rid of it. It's in a closet here. In fact, I think I put it on the front
Why
lawn.
do I care? That's not my problem. Do whatever you like. I'm just saying.
You begs the question, what do you care what I watch on my TV?
I want you to have the best experience possible.
Okay, well then
I care truly and deeply about your home theater experience.
Then you should invest in my home theater, like my other 2 sons did. They bought me a nice receiver that only worked sometimes, and ended up at the cottage. It was so good.
Wow. Okay.
It had a huge remote. The remote was giant. It was ridiculous.
Big remotes are good though. You don't want that's the other problem. Everything now it's got 5 buttons and that's it. It's up, down, left, right, enter, back, forward. And I'm
don't get me started on why do I have to have 5 different remotes. and every time I sneeze on my Apple remote, it fires up my Apple TV and takes me out of whatever TV show I was watching on cable.
Oh, and this swipey, you gotta swipe through everything and no. Why
I have the new ones with the
ooh, that's so much better.
Yeah. Well, Carol, now, it's funny because Carol's I would watch Apple TV if you got me the new remote. Got her the new remote. Guess what?
Yeah.
Blow the dust off it. All right. I got one more thing.
It's not red. That's the problem. If it was red and covered in fabric.
So I want to hear about this one more thing because I saw this link and I clicked on the link to go to see if I could buy this thing, and it doesn't exist.
It has not been released yet.
Oh, okay.
But while we have been enjoying a golden age of licensed products in the Lego world, we have Lego Star Wars, we have Lego Harry Potter, we have Lego Mario Brothers, we've got all kinds of stuff that is awesome. I have a Lego Death Star here next to me. I have Lego Millennium Falcon and all kinds of good stuff. Lots of good stuff on Tim's shelf there as well. Xavier's got his own. We all love Lego.
Over there.
One of the things that I think has been the most fun is these great ability where they are now letting a lot of people do their own thing, and then they're making them come to life. And as part of one of these, somebody created a Sonic the Hedgehog Lego set that looks like a replica of the first level of Sonic for the Sega Genesis. And it was voted by the fans, and they are going to put it into production. So they are making a Sonic the Hedgehog Lego set. We've got the link in here to the article from Gizmodo. You can have a look at it. It looks fantastic. It comes, he's got all his Chaos Emeralds. He's got all his, characters. There's a great rendition of Dr. Robotnik. It's fantastic, and I'm so excited that this thing exists. And for those of us who are Genesis all the way, Genesis for life, I think this is long overdue, and I'm really glad they're making this. So
are they going to come out with a Master System version of it?
I suspect entirely not. I meant to tell you, I did a while back. I did acquire the other two Sega Master System Sonic games from England.
Oh, really?
I had them shipped over.
Are they the same?
No, they're completely unique games. They were the ones that were done for the Game Gear and for the Master System internationally. So they're completely unique games. One's called Sonic 2 and one's called Sonic Chaos, and you can only play them on either a Game Gear or on the Master System. And yeah, you could never get them here in North America, but thanks to the nice folks in the British Post, I've managed to acquire a couple of those.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I moved to Vancouver, I only took one game with me, and I bought myself a Nomad.
Nomad, yeah.
I played Sonic on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know what happened to that.
I have it here on a shelf. It's lovely.
You have it? Okay.
Is that yours? I thought that was...
Nope, that was Tim's.
I bought it.
Oh, I thought that was Andrew's or something. I don't know. I assumed it was...
Nope, Tim bought that and passed it along a while back.
I did, yeah.
All right.
A while ago.
Oh yeah, I know we live in the same house that I can come talk to you afterwards, but just remind me, because you mentioned Game Gear, right? There's still the Game Gears that we need to get fixed. We can look into the stuff we can look into there. If you want to be able to actually play your Game Gear game.
And on that note, folks, I think we're done for the day.
You don't have to actually put this in if you don't want to. I don't know. This is more just general banter.
So I think that's it for another week. So Jonathan, if people wanted to get in touch with you, where would they find you?
You can always find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's @JPK News.
And Xavier, if people want to talk to you about Crave and how wonderful it is.
Or surround sound or anything you like, home theater, hit me up. I'm on Twitter. It's @Xman_1664.
All right. And my name is Tim Mitra. I am TIMMITRA, as you can see on over there.
Other side. There you go.
Over there. Yeah. You can see over there that I am that on Twitter, and that's where you'll find me. By the way, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, and there's a button sort of thing.
It's down there.
Down there. There. Jonathan, can you point to the button?
Yep.
Yeah, there. You can click on that, subscribe.
And hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever there's a new podcast from the More Than Just Podcast Productions crew.
Yeah, or More Than Just Code, More Than Just this thing. I'm thinking about a few other sort of interesting ideas for online stuff. Maybe some karaoke kind of stuff, but
Crave chat with Xavier is coming soon.
More than just home theater,
and vacuums are us, and more than just vacuums,
more than just suck,
more than just robots,
more than just Matrix t-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
More than just green screens.
More than just green screen. Yeah. All right. So until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you on Smart List they say bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. This is Jean-Luc Picard. Shut up, Wesley. Sorry, say again. Just the tag. Gotcha. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter at Spotcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpotcast. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/Spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Maybe it's WebEx. You have to load the images, right? How do you do that?
This one, if you go
Studio
to
Effects,
background and filters, and then virtual backgrounds, and then the little plus in the top right corner.
Oh, I can change my eyebrows. Look at that.
None, blur, and then there's a plus. You can, and then if you click choose green screen, then you can color key to anything in your background.
Oh, I should do this when I do interviews. Check out this. I can change my beard and my mustache. I have trouble getting hired.
Oh, I gotta try mine. Hold on.
Just put that in for any job interviews in the future, Tim.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. This is like. Who does this look like? I look like Wolfman Jack.
Hey, it's Wolfman Jack. Yeah.
You look like evil Tim from the Mirror Universe.
How do
I do the image thing?
Go virtual backgrounds.
Yeah. Oh.
Click that, and then if you click on the little pick the color thing, you can pick your whatever color. You can chroma key to whatever.
But I don't have a green screen.
But I just
there we go.
Yeah.
now I look like the what's it called, the master?
That's right.
The master. Can I do more hair? Oh, there's more stuff. Lip color. Need my lip color.
That's really trippy.
Oh my God.
It's inside of me.
Isn't that where Agent Smith turns the guy into the other Agent Smith?
Yeah.
Look,
This is actually really cool. I kind of like this. I'm totally going to get sued for this, but whatever. It's worth it.
No. You're paying homage to the beloved Matrix franchise, which we support. And therefore, they wouldn't sue us.
Yeah.
I wonder why they don't have like Vulcan eyebrows.
This is really cool.
You're such a dork.
Yeah, but like...
Oh, it's apply to future. Make sure you don't check apply to future meetings. Oh, shit. How do I make this stop?
Oh, goody.
That's why I'm not messing with mine. I actually have a Zoom meeting tomorrow morning. I can't.
How did you do your mustache and beard thing? Because
it's an option if you click on. There's like a little studio effects.
Yeah, so it says eyebrows. Mine just says none. There's no options.
Podcast art. That's what it is.
I find the whole virtual background thing a little bit spotty. I have so many of my colleagues that use it, and
it works way better if you use an actual green screen. If you have like a real green screen, it works perfectly.
Yeah, most people are trying to do it in their living room, so it's like catching parts of their hair and parts of their headphones, and it just always looks very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, no. But
in the inevitable conversation with people, when they see me, they're like, oh, "Is that a virtual background?" I'm like, "No, that's just my room." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." I'm like, "Is that a virtual background?" They're like, "Yeah, my room is disgusting. I would never show people that." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah."
Well, although everybody seems to think that shelf beside me there is filled with VHS tapes. I'm like,
hey,
really?
Oh Lord,
what?
I am so self-indulgent, aren't I?
Just gonna say, this is probably not the best ego thing we've ever given to this young man.
It looks cool though, actually. Like having again, I think if you wore because suppose my chair is green. If my chair wasn't green, it'd be perfect. It's green chair matches my green shirt, so it all sort of blends.
Borrow Foster's backup chair for an episode, and that's red.
Yeah. Well, also again, the problem too is the lighting. Like I'm lit. Like if I actually put myself up here, I'm lit very well on one side and not very well on the other side. So
you have to get a ring light. Look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
honestly, I was just thinking
it's time for Conspiracy Corner. I wonder if maybe Xavier mailed some COVID to Jaime for Christmas.
Maybe that must have been his plan.
Why would I harm somebody? I swore an oath when I started. No, I never did that. But I have no medical.
Do no harm? Is that a Spotcast oath?
Yes. Do no harm. Yeah. When you join the Spotcast crew, you have to sign a waiver that says I will not cause harm to other members of the More Than Just Podcast committee.
Even Mark?
Mark R at snapsoft.com.
Yeah.
Mark R at snapsoft.com. Ha 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 pun. Ha ha pun. Snap.
Oh snap. See what he did?
Oh snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who, me?
Your micro. Yeah, what is that?
That's a Shure SM7B.
Oh, yes, of course it is. Okay. The podcast microphone that everybody seems to use.
Really?
Oh, it's like
I think the lights are all turning off around here, which means it's time to go because the plugs are being pulled.
Your smart plugs. Oh yeah, I apparently my dad did not realize that you had smart plugs in your house. He laughed hysterically when I told him that I had access to your smart plugs, so I could turn your lights off or whatever. He thought that was hilarious.
I said to him, "So let me get this straight. You have the ability to turn on and off the lights and on different things at Grandma and Grandpa's house at any given time. How have we not been using this all time? How have we not just spent all of our time being like?" Sending like
it's like I was telling people I can lock the front door of our house like anytime I want if I happen to see like. And I was thinking, it would just be my luck that Carol would go out to the garbage when I lock the door.
Lock the door,
and I'm not at home. I'm like, oops.
Yeah, well, she has her watch on though. She should be able to unlock it from there though. It's got the code though.
Back that sentence up again and say that whole thing again, and think of where the logic flaw in there is.
Yeah,
but don't you have the little code thing you can use?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
So if you don't have the phone, you could still unlock it.
Yeah, that's true. You can now. We're like an Airbnb. We have Airbnb technology.
Well, I think when we were at the home show a couple of years ago, they had one like several years ago. They had one with a thumbprint where you use your thumbprint.
Yeah, Yale has a lock like that. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea because that way you don't have to play your phone. You just go poop and it's done.
Yeah, we were talking today about actually getting one for the back door because we're trying to figure out how to put something on the back door. We don't have a deadbolt on there, right? So.
Oh, really? It's just a one lock in the door handle? Or?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, kids, time to say goodbye.
Bye.
Jonathan was frozen there for a minute.
No, I was just deeply invested in what I was doing.
We'll see you in the future.
Okay, bye.
All right, see ya.
At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.